Right on, writers, and welcome first-time viewers to the Books by ADRIAN author platform. This is Typewriters Podcast, an after show for Livestream Sunday. Today's guest is going to be SD Huston. We're going to pick up where we left off with her a few days ago. A few days ago for you, a few minutes for us. If this is your first time, please leave a like, comment, subscribe, do all that good stuff. Hit the notification bell. You know what you have to do. Show the channel a little love. Let's get a boost in the algorithm. At this point in the week, this is Thursday for you guys, so that means that the sign up for the book club has closed, and I will be sending out emails next Tuesday to include the free book from Shanon that we'll be reading during the first book club, which is Blind Spot. So I'm looking forward to that. 2 weeks after that, we'll have our first stream with the book club, and you guys can all join in and see what that book is all about. I don't want to delay any longer. Let's go ahead and bring her out here. Please welcome back SD Huston. Shanon?
Hi.
Hello all. Go ahead and remind the folks at home, maybe this is first time viewers for them, who you are, where you're from, and what you got going on right now.
Hello, I'm Shanon. I write under the pen name SD Huston, and I write YA fantasy. I have 2 books currently out in my Clash of Goddesses trilogy series, with the 3rd book coming out in the beginning of June. I also have a YouTube channel under the same name of SD Huston, where you can find videos about writing and about my self-publishing journey and my marketing and how that works for me or doesn't work for me.
Sorry. I love that you just said that because it's actually a perfect segue to what I wanted to open up with. Well, after asking you, how did you think it went today on the show?
Oh, I thought it was great. Yeah, I loved it.
I always have fun, but I'm always like really nervous beforehand. And then as soon as it's over, I was like, I hope everyone liked it. Did everyone like it? Okay.
I'm the same way because I'm super, super nervous. Do you know what I was drinking? I've learned I need to have a drink, and that's the only way I can loosen up a little bit to have fun when I'm doing it.
Gotcha. I don't know what you were drinking, but I'm sure it was yummy because that cup is empty.
It is empty.
So I've been asking a lot of people on the show lately their thoughts on a particular problem that I'm noticing, which is that, we authors are making the best that we can out of today's most popular social medias, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever it is. We make them work as best as we can, but none of them are designed with us in mind. Now, you were talking about marketing your books. I'm very, very concerned with reaching an audience. This is going to be my debut novel coming out later this year as well. And I would like it to be a success, and I would like it to reach a lot of readers. And so I'm wondering what your thoughts on a social media app geared specifically towards authors and readers and the connection of these two communities that need each other so badly. What would you like to see in such a thing? What do you think we need to make an app specifically for authors and or readers?
I think it would have to be an app that is designed for the readers. So it would be an app. So I like Goodreads, but Goodreads is not the best. So
agreed. That's the other point, is that there are little things. There's Goodreads. There's even Amazon to an extent, but they're not also just not quite right. We need something more. You're saying gear it towards the reader. How do you mean?
So where Amazon totally fails when it comes to, like, as an author, I know there's people following me, but I have no idea who's following me. Yet I followed some authors just to see what would happen. I especially followed authors I knew who were coming out with a book. And I got that email saying, hey, they came out with a new book. Well, that's great. That helps me as a reader, but it doesn't help me engage with that author. Right. Similarly, Goodreads is this kind of same way. Authors could engage, but it's almost like a taboo for authors to engage with readers on Goodreads, because Goodreads is designed for readers to talk about authors and their books.
Almost like reviewing them together.
Reviewing. So it's specifically for readers, for other readers, where a good app would be for readers who can engage with authors. Yeah. So a platform designed just for that, for the readers, but to engage with the author directly.
I feel like it would need some sort of content for the author to put out regularly, whether it's short stories, flash fictions, things that they can post for readers to read that will maybe work as reader magnets for their books, you know?
But you would have to think about today's culture. It's all about those short stories or
Yes.
those short TikToks.
Short little things keep their attention for a moment and then it's gone.
Yes. So it would have to be, I mean, TikTok's great. They're saying I haven't got into it, but they say it's great for authors, but TikTok's not just for authors.
No.
Not just for readers. So it'd be great if we had an app that was like that, but just for readers. It was just for the book community.
Yeah. Okay, so that's something that you know I'm kicking around with a lot of people. Last week's guest, Moshe Mikanovsky, is a digital project manager, and he immediately was like, well, let's talk more about this because it's interesting and I kind of want to delve into that. So like I have a meeting with him coming up with my producers, and we're all going to kick around ideas and stuff.
Okay.
But I like asking people about this because it's just, again, none of it is geared towards us, and I kind of want something that's geared towards us. So thank you for your opinion on that. Let's see here, classic questions that we didn't get to before. Writer's block, is that a thing for you? How do you deal with writer's block?
So it comes and goes for me because I'm like some people that say I procrastinate. Like I know when I get up and write, when I start writing I feel good, but sometimes getting to writing, you know, it takes a while for me. I'm the opposite. Like I'm ready to write all the time. But I schedule so much for myself, and I do a lot of it to myself. I put a lot of stuff on my plate because I want to do that. I want to do that new next shiny object. But there are times when I sit down and I've envisioned a scene and I start writing it and it doesn't come out the way I want. And now, oh wait, I gotta sit here and not do anything. I need to just kind of think about it. But I start playing it in my head like a movie. And if I can get to that point of playing it in my head and seeing, like, if I take this route, you know, in the multiverse, right? Mm-hmm. This is what will happen. If I take that route, here's what could happen. You know, for me, writer's block usually happens when I get to a point where I'm not sure what's going to happen next. Mm-hmm. But it doesn't take long for me to get over it.
So, excuse me. So that is prompts me to ask then how much plotting you do ahead of time, or if you're pantsing this thing.
So I'm in between. So plantser according to some models. I like to have a roadmap of where I'm going. Mm-hmm. And of course, the con to that is if you do map out some of it, because you have discovery writing in there, that could change the rest of your outline. Now you got to redo your outline, which I've had to redo my outline several times.
Yeah. I'm very similar. I've heard a lot of authors, instead of describing it as plotting or pantsing, going the difference between an architect and a gardener. Right. Yeah. So then your plotter is more the architect that needs every little thing mapped out. He needs to have specifics and measure. He knows everything that goes into it before he writes a word. And then the gardener, you know, he knows what the end goal is, right? Whether he's planting a tomato or whatever it is, he knows what the end goal is. I'm going to have a tomato by the time I'm done with this. But along the way, feeding it nutrients, water, sunlight, you know, controlling pests or whatever it is, like just the kind of variables that come into it will ultimately result in a different tomato every time. Every tomato is different from every other tomato, size, right. You know, whatever. So that's kind of how I think of my writing process, is as the gardener, because like you, I need the roadmap, and I'm, you know, it helps me to avoid writer's block as well, because if you hit writer's block, it's like, well, go to your outline. What are you supposed to be writing next? Do that, you know. So I tend to do that, but like you, I allow for that discovery writing as I'm writing each chapter or whatever it is. And if something truly, you know, excellent comes from that, once I'm done with that writing session, my next writing session is going back to the outline and adjusting it so that I never have to rewrite the entire outline. All I have to do is like make adjustments to accommodate this new idea that has gone into it so that it doesn't derail my entire story.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm the same way.
I like that. Yeah. It's the best of both worlds.
Yeah. Because I love discovery. I love for instance, I was just writing a new scene. I put a new scene into my book. My book was done, my third book, but I thought I need to add a little bit more here and there. And I added this new scene, and my character went up to this door, and then she walked away. And when I started writing the scene, I thought, she wouldn't go up to the door and see this negative, bad stuff happening and walk away. She'd walk in and do whatever she could, even though she's outnumbered. So that kind of changed what I was doing.
Changed everything. Yeah. that's a whole new direction, yeah, for the story from there. It's going to
It
change
was.
everything.
I had to
Huge
rewrite the last 30,000 words.
Yeah, huge consequences from walking into a room where there's so many people, and you're gonna hop into that mess. Sure.
Yep.
That sounds awesome. So with, see, for me, the discovery writing, also like the free writing is what I always call it, where you sit down and you just like you're suffering from writer's block or whatever it is, you think you have no ideas, so you just sit down and you just keep clacking for 40 minutes. I set a timer for 40 minutes and I just clack away, and even if what I'm writing is complete and utter nonsense, I don't know what to write today, this is nonsense, blah, blah, it doesn't matter, like I just get and then before the end of those 40 minutes, something is going to spark loose, and before you know it, you get into a rhythm and you go from there, That
was actually an exercise I used to do with my students when I taught. They didn't know what they're going to write their essays about. They may have like a very small idea, and I say, okay, 15 minutes free writing. You write whatever it is comes to your mind. And if you're like, I need to go grocery shopping, write out that grocery list and then continue on with what your essay is. Bring yourself back to the main topic. And then by the time you're done with that free writing session, you'll be able to pull out one or two, maybe more nuggets of what you actually will write about for your essay.
I tend to give similar advice to people when they ask me, oh, I'm in a slump, I don't have any ideas. I'm like, just crank out like 40 minutes of free writing. I always say 40 minutes because I find 30 minutes to be the sweet spot, where like by 30 minutes, if you haven't hit like a good rhythm or an idea or something, you're about ready to lose your mind. And when you're about ready to lose your mind, right on the other side of that is the idea. So that's why I say 40 minutes. Give it an extra 10 after the whole like I'm gonna lose it thing, and then you're gonna get there. Now, hand in hand with writer's block, authors are always talking about imposter syndrome. I tend to think that both writer's block and imposter syndrome are misunderstood elements of writing. In the case of writer's block, it means that you haven't plotted enough, you haven't outlined enough, or you need to go back to your outline, or there's a problem that you haven't, whatever it is, there's something there that can be fixed. It's not really writer's block, you're just running into an obstacle. So with imposter syndrome, I tend to feel kind of the same way, where it's like, it's actually kind of a necessary thing for being an author, because especially in the beginning, you're borrowing from everybody. So what about you? How do you feel about imposter syndrome? Is it ever crippling for you? Because I like to plow right through it.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it's crippling. And I think it's Six Figure Author podcast. I love listening to them. I don't know if you've ever listened to them, but they talk about how authors are two people in one. On one hand, you're the greatest writer ever. You have the best writing. Your work is awesome. And on the other hand, you are the worst writer ever. Garbage. No one's ever going to want to read your crap.
Hot garbage, yeah.
So you have these two people in your brain as an author, and they're constantly battling with each other. Yeah. So I think of myself as more in the middle. I mean, every now and then I write a scene like, oh my gosh, like I was bawling the other day writing a scene. I'm like, really? I move myself like this? I don't think anybody else will, but yeah, I bawled. Yeah. But I think I'm a little bit, I've always been a realist. So I got my first book out there. It's had quite a few good sales. I've had a lot of downloads, but I don't think it was the best book ever. And I think it could use a lot of work to be a better book.
Every writer's first book is always their worst, right? So
yeah.
You can only get better.
Right. That's what I told myself. If I let myself tell myself it's the worst book ever, and I don't ever put it out there, I'm never going to get better. So I have to just go ahead and put it out there. And so just so you know, recently my research has been into, can you redo a first book? Can you unpublish it and republish it as better? Send it off. Obviously we would love to get those developmental editors to help us, but they cost a lot of money. Where just a regular editor doesn't cost as much. So I didn't spend the money for a developmental editor. And I think, well, I probably should have. But, so I know it's not the best book ever. And when I do have like a couple fans who have emailed me a few times. And I'm like, really? They like my book? And one made
What's wrong with them? Why do they like what I've written?
well, I'm thinking, well, what did they like about my book? Which, and one's made fan art from my book. I'm like, oh my gosh,
be a good feeling to see some original fan art. Oh, I can't wait.
Especially knowing that I know it's not the best writing that I could have done. So
Well, we talked about it in the live show about how Ken Shawn, for the book club, found himself like re-editing and is going to essentially like re-release or an updated version. Right. And that's one of the perks of being a self-published author. There's also a lot of warning to not get lost in doing that, not go back, as just plow forward. But number one, I feel like it's really good for you to have put the book out, however you felt about the finished product, knowing that now you move on to the next thing with this in your rear view, but to learn from it. You mentioned your readers are sending you emails about how they like it or whatever, and you're like, what do they like? And that's a good question. What do they like about it? Because that's what you're going to continue forward, and what they didn't like about it is stuff that you can consider losing, especially if it overlaps with stuff that you didn't like about it. As for the developmental edit, like, I feel you on that one, because yes, I was looking up prices and I'm like, good grief, these dudes are expensive, but at the same time, I know that I need it, especially for a book my size. I'm writing this big giant epic. It's like 150,000 words. It's ridiculous.
Which is even more money because developmental editing goes by the word count.
Yes, exactly. So just imagine the quotes that I've been getting. So I'm like, and it's my first novel, so I know there's going to be a lot of red and I want it. I want all that red. Give me the red. I want my book to be as good as possible, especially knowing it's my first book and therefore will always be my worst book.
Now, have you thought about using alpha readers? Have you ever heard of that?
All of that is going to be part of it. Alpha readers, beta readers,
before
and
you do the
critique partners before all of that. Absolutely. Okay. So the idea is going to be, I've built, as most of us on AuthorTube have, little AuthorTuber cliques have kind of sprouted up where we kind of support each other. And so, I've been, I have a copy of Martin Lejeune's McMurdo Rift right here that I am beta reading for him, and I'm supposed to be writing a blurb for it and stuff. And when my book is done, I'm going to be sending it to a lot of people as well. So I'm going to get all that feedback back from them, do a nice hard revision / edit, and then finally send it to an actual developmental editor, and then a line editor after that, because
yes, you need that.
And then eventually 10 years later the book will come out.
There you go.
And it's crazy because like I said, it's a big book, and I'm not done revising my first draft. I want to revise it first before I send it out to everybody. So I have finished my first draft, but the revision has taken me a lot longer than I thought it would, especially that middle. What is it about middles, Shanon?
Yeah. I think, and honestly, for people like us who are we are in the middle between being a planner and a pantser, or a gardener and an architect. We're in the middle, and so middles of books tend to be our worst, I think. That's what I found anyways.
Yeah, because I feel like I have a very strong opening, and nobody's read my ending yet, but I feel like I have a pretty strong ending. But that middle, man, it's just tying all the tendrils together. The whole thing. Continuity has been a big thing because I have 3 main characters, so there's 3 storylines. So everybody has their own point of view chapters, and then well, I can't have this chapter here because what happens here doesn't happen till after this other guy. But then I can't. I have to rewrite. Yeah, it's.
I have 5 main points of view in my 3rd book. I know that.
5.
5.
There you go.
Yes.
And I say 3, but those are my main characters. I do have side characters that have their own chapters. Yeah. So
I was gonna say the 5th one, which is one I threw in, is kind of a side character, but the other ones are all kind of mains.
Yeah. The main characters each have 7 chapters each, 7 point of view chapters each, and then I've got 2 side characters that each have 3 for themselves, and then I have a couple of random one-shot character chapters that
gotcha.
I don't, it's gonna be fun. Do you have any plans to adapt your books in the future to other mediums, TVs, movies, any of that?
I would love that, but I do think that my there you go. I do think that my first book would need a strong revising, and I think it does need the developmental editing, which I actually just I don't know if you listen to Joanna Penn's podcast at all, but one that she just came out with was that here it is 11 years later, and she went back to her first book and she revised it and did a developmental edit of it, and because she wanted it to be strong, and now she felt like she was in a position where she was strong enough as a writer to be able to go back and know what to change.
And that's a beautiful thing as a self-published author, and waiting 11 years is probably really, really good too, because it's one thing to go back to your book and make little touch-ups or whatever, but a real strong revision, wait until you're a much better writer and then go back
Right.
and fix your first book. That sounds great.
Yeah.
Now I want to do that already.
And you haven't got your first book out yet.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to 11 years from now rewriting this first book.
There you go.
We're ridiculous. See, for me, I know that I want to be a writer. I want to be known as a dude who writes novels, but I also want to pay the bills, and I know that's
Right.
not necessarily where the money's at. So I try to make, not only for the reason of eventually making money, I try to make my books as cinematic as possible so that they're easily adaptable. But ultimately, that's what I like to read. That's what I like to watch. That's what I like to, big, epic, cinematic, crazy stories. And so that's just what I'm writing. And that's what I would be writing anyway, even if I wasn't planning on doing something like that. But yeah, I've got this like real good feeling that if I can publish this trilogy and do well enough, I can sell this to a studio, because I think it would be a good movie or TV series.
There you go. See, no imposter syndrome for you.
See, you could probably run, like, you could be like a showrunner on a not a remake of Once Upon a Time, but like the better version of such a show. You know what I mean? Make up your own version.
I would say true, a little more true to the original line.
Because it's a good concept. That show had a good idea. Yeah. It was all in the execution that I felt it fell short. Okay, so I feel like, that's a good 20 minutes. I was going to say it felt short, but I feel like we've covered most of what I wanted to cover with you today. Was there anything that you wanted to cover that we didn't get to on any of these? Any topics that you needed to, like, touch people's brains with, or anything like that?
Well, you are books by ADRIAN, so yes. Do you center, you have both self-published and traditionally published authors on here, right?
I do.
Because I think your last one was traditionally published.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, no, I think I've covered all that I can under my umbrella.
Fair enough. And you know what? Not just authors on here. I like to have people from different professions as well that we can learn from. One of my favorite episodes is in season 2. It's a friend of mine, Stephanie Straffus. She works for the State Department, and as such has lived in like 6 countries over the past 5 or 6 or 7 years or so, and she speaks like 4 languages, and and she's seen some stuff. I'm sure you can relate with your Army background. So I had her on the show, even though she's not a writer in any way, shape, or form, a fiction writer at all. But I brought her on the show, and the theme was world building. And I just talked to her and asked her questions about places that she had been, things that she had experienced. Nothing that would get her in trouble, thank God. But but just like what was the most magical place that you ever felt that you were at, or what and stuff like that. And she for example pointed out this one place that she'd been that was a collection of islands. It was like 5 or 6 different islands, all connected by bridges, and this was one city. And each island was like a different borough almost, but like a different like idea of the city. Like one was where all the entertainment was, the movie theaters and the theme parks and all that stuff. And another one is where all the the financial district was. And another one was where everybody else lived. And one was the party island. And it was all like one giant city connected. And I was like, that sounds brilliant. I want to put that in a book immediately.
Yeah.
So you don't have to be an author to be on the channel. And if you know anyone that you feel would be a wonderful person to talk to and to pick their brain to learn from, send them my way, because it doesn't have to just be a writer. I've had musicians on here. I've had artists on here. I think it was season 3, I had Odette Bach, who did some character designs for me, and she does it for a lot of our other authors, especially independent authors like ourselves. So I had her on, and all are welcome.
Actually, I just saw a YouTube video. We talked about it last night on AuthorTubers React. See if I can pull it back up here again.
Okay. You can also share it if you want on the screen.
Okay. See if I can find it. I guess I watched a lot of videos. It's not showing up under my library.
Sounds like my problem. I'm like, yeah, it was yesterday. No, it was 3 months ago. But good memory.
It was an artist that she redoes, like she covers, and some people may not like this. She takes books that she doesn't think the book cover goes well with it, and she paints over the book cover.
All right. I got nothing against that. She bought the book. She can do whatever the hell she wants to it. Go for it.
Right. The Average Artist.
The Average Artist.
Yes.
And it's a channel on YouTube?
It is a channel on YouTube. But, I mean, she's got 111K subscribers, so I don't know. But, you never know if you don't reach out to her. And she redid the one that I just watched last night. She redid the Percy Jackson, or is it Percy Jackson?
The Average Artist, you said, right? 111,000 subscribers? Yeah, I'm looking at it right now.
Yes. She takes book covers and paints over them. I mean, I thought that was like, wow.
Artemis Fowl, she did. Yeah, I see that. Interesting. Very cool.
I think she would be interesting to talk to. I would just love to get inside her mind.
Thanks for turning me on to that, and subscribe.
Six of Crows. She did a 6 of Crows, yeah.
Yeah, there's a bunch of cool ones on here. I'm going to fall down a rabbit hole after this.
Yes.
Right on. Okay, well, Shanon, this was a delight. Thank you so very much. You're welcome back anytime. If you have another book coming out, please let me know, and we can have you on for season 5 or whatever season is on around that time. Sure. Thank you for signing up for the book club. Leading by example, I appreciate that.
Well, I was excited when I saw that. I was like, "Oh, I want to do that."
Yeah, it's gonna be fun, and I like the idea of it being, AuthorTube books that we're gonna read. Let's
Me too.
Let's do the thing, right? All right.
Just don't include my book anytime soon because it's not that great.
Is
that imposter syndrome?
I roll by that's it. I roll by the polls. If you win in the polls, I had nothing to do with that. I don't know. We'll have to read the book. You can always fix it later. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Joanna Penn.
Thank you all so very much for coming. Thank you, Shanon, for being with us. And what's coming up next for us? We have another live stream Sunday coming up on Sunday. The next guest is, I believe, Sako Toomey.
Yes.
Yeah, let me see. Yes, I am correct. So we're
going
to be talking
information.
Oh yeah, and not just about any one thing either. This is she's got a lot going on. So we're going to be talking to her about witchcraft and a lot of other stuff. So join us for that, and subscribe to Shanon's channel because she's got a lot of cool stuff going on over there, and I know that she's got more cool stuff coming down the pipeline, especially once her workload at home lines up a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Thank you all so much. Until next time, Write On Writers, and we're out.
Thank you.